So, yeah, this is Thomas from Omnos, and he is going to be an exhibitor this year. I'm really pleased to welcome him because we've known each other for a couple of years. As the founder of the summit, I look for amazing brands and for the best speakers so that I can curate a really good experience for everyone. It's really important so that everyone can trust the quality of the summit compared to a lot of the other summits that just accept anyone who pays money to be an exhibitor. That's not what we do. So I'll let Thomas explain a little bit more about the products in a minute, but essentially my full understanding of it is a software where you can order various blood tests and different tests such as mercury levels, gut bacteria, genetics, etc. And all the results go into one platform so that you can even upload your previous data in as well so they can look at trends. And I'll let Thomas go into more detail in a minute, but it's really awesome. So I'm in the process at the moment of doing it with them. I've had access to the back end of the platform for quite some time and I've been playing around with it, and this is the fancy new packaging. Apparently I was the first person to have this of all, just by chance.
You were before me. I haven't even put my hands on it.
Say that again.
I haven't even put my hands on the new packaging because I've been away, and yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm the first then. So yeah, this is the microbiome test that I got here, which I'm looking forward to doing it very, very soon. And I think the packaging is amazing. Anyway, so before we go into more of those details, the reason why I asked Thomas to exhibit, and I have been on his case for 1.5 years. Last year, he wasn't quite ready for the 2019 summit. But I just really believe in, because of my health journey, having all of the tests all in one place. And so you can look at trends, and opposed to just having printouts and emails from all the different practitioners and specialists from all over the place and not being able to necessarily make sense of them, even when you have a practitioner that you're working with. So that's exactly why. And I think bringing everything together into one place is super, super important. So I think in terms of looking at trends in the biohacker mindset, which is why it resonates with me, is the data is obviously important to track, but also to centralize it and keep an eye on that data, because again, a lot of people do all these tests, run their eyes over it once and then don't ever look back at it. And I think that that's a big fail because there's a lot of big wins. And I think if we go back to our first conversation ever about the product, Thomas, it was just like, well, actually, we had someone being tracked in the system. We saw a trend in terms of hormones. We knew that that person was actually on their way to having potentially breast cancer or some form of cancer, just because of hormone markers out, so we could intervene before it was too late, which is one of the things that actually started originally. So first of all, I think before we go into your side of things for the for Omnos, what did you think of the summit last year?
So, well, last year was amazing, and you know, I really enjoyed it. The reason why I really enjoyed it, and I think it was a big difference from any other place that I've been to. There's two reasons. One is because there was this Google thing going on with the algorithm being changed. And I remember being a bit disappointed about this, because that is literally translating into, if you look at holistic approach to health on Google, you're not likely to find anything anymore. And I was a bit disappointed about this, because even when things are validated by science and coming from real source, from people who devoted their life to a more integrative approach to health, and they're all, you know, top scientists, they're not being exposed at all. And I remember going to the summit with this mindset of like, oh, this is a bit annoying, and realizing that all those people were there, and meeting everybody here, and the buzz that was at this amazing summit that, you know, long been awaited to happen in England. It was great to see a sort of you know, resistance almost, just to put the French card in the sense that, you know, actually it's this movement being considered as biohacker as a movement is really what will be soon to become a lot more validated. And if you go through experience like the COVID-19 one we went through, people are really starting to realize that actually being a lot more proactive towards our health is the only way out of avoiding, declining our health over time. And what was viewed before as, a bit of a piracy group, the biohacking community, is now starting to be seen as a navy, in a sense that there's a lot of top scientists, renowned researcher that are really starting to join the cause and understanding the whole movement, which I think is very exciting. So yeah, I really loved it.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's the feedback I've had from a lot of people, actually. I mean, I'm surprised I was the first person to bring it to England like this. And it was really cool having 1,200 people. Obviously, we're going for 1,500 people this year. So it's looking even bigger and better. So awesome. So right. Tell me, why did you, what would you say was the main reason for wanting to exhibit as well? Because obviously I've talked about why I picked you, and tell me what you thought about the summit. But I mean, what was the main thing that made you feel like Omnos fitted in with the Health Optimization Summit this year?
I think it's on the first thing is more about, on the first point is about being part of the community again, who most of the people who attend there or most of the organization agree on certain things, such as the integrative approach to medicine, the whole aspect of having control over our health and being responsible about it. So it's more for me, you mentioned a few times the product, but I don't see what we're doing as a product, more as a platform for a community, or people who can optimize their health, and they're in this journey of trying to optimize their health, can join in and do that. And I think this is why we decided to go with Health Optimization Summit rather than other brand for now, because it's it's all about the community, and the people. Funny enough, the people when I go at the Health Optimization Summit is all people that have been following before even Omnos. Me as a practitioner, they read my book, or they were on the first platform, which was GenSmart, and it's this community feeling, and I just want to be there and share the new platform, and I'm very excited about it because it's now something quite interesting. So
okay, cool. So in your words, tell me exactly the best way of describing exactly what Omnos is from start to finish in the words of the man himself right now, so everyone knows what exact value it is. And if someone goes, well, I'm going to invest in this, access to this software and to the testing platform, but what's in it for me?
Okay, so what is it for someone who wants to join the platform is having the ability to actually have a tool that is a health optimization platform, an intelligent platform, in the sense that we do a few things there. So first, we look at a self-assessment, which will tell us about what you do, what are your habits, and potentially what symptoms you may have. And the other step is if you have any health data, or if you don't have any, you can do our test. And then what this all does is to connect all the dots between your lifestyle, your genotype for the DNA test, for example, and also your phenotype, which is basically what's going on in your body right now. And this is where the difference is compared to, all the things that's out there now. And this is why we wanted to work a bit harder, and we were not ready for 2019. It was about connecting the dots between each and every aspect of someone based on data point, if you wish, to the point that we can make very granular recommendation for someone to optimize their health, but which are very targeted and very personal to this person. And this is the power of Omnos. So I would call it, in 3 words, a health intelligence platform, to make it simple, right? But if you want me to dig deeper, it's all about gathering data point from your self-assessment, so potential symptoms. Then you plug in genetic data, and we go up to 700,000 genes that we test for. We give you access to more than 500 reports. And then once you have all this, we already know what sorts of things you should actually investigate, because the platform does that. So if we know from your self-assessment, I'll give you my example. From my self-assessment, but I'm, sometimes have little headaches. Sometimes I have, just few symptoms flagging up. The fact that I live in London, the fact that I work a lot and I commute a lot. And then understanding from my genetic variant that my detoxification pathways are not optimal. And so the next recommendation based on the symptom is to do our envirotoxin test, which looks at a lot of markers, like 76 markers for all sort of different things, and 20 markers in relationship to toxicology. So car fumes, water toxin, all these other things. And because the symptoms that I had were related to toxicology, and linking the dot with my genetic not being able to optimize those pathways of detoxification, phase 1 and phase 2. I do the test, my results come in, and now within the platform we've created this dashboard, which is very all nicely visual, where you can see your ratio, where you are. And what we would, when I see this, my result is actually, we could have done a new visual for me, because the normal range between 200 and 500, I was on 1,900 for car fumes, which was way over. Wow. And the things that I need to remove, those substances, those reactive chemical substances, are glutathione, okay, so phase 2 detoxification. And again, in the organic acid test, we can see all this. And between 2 and 5 is the normal range. I was at 0.3, which is very, very low. And I was like, what? And obviously, I sort of knew about all these things. And something that you always tell me about is also, you tell me off about, is the fact that I still have mercury feeling. I booked an appointment. But funny enough, like looking at my element test, all the ratio, like mercury, iron, my iron is super low because it's been depleted because of too much mercury, of other things, right? And it linked to all my symptoms. But now I have a clear path of what I need to sort out. And from this, the recommendation I get are things to do, things to avoid, things to take if I need to, like acetyl glutathione, like vitamin C, because that liposomal vitamin C, because that helps on this front. And yeah, so anyway, so this is really the example I have in terms of giving personalized recommendation, like at the granular level.
So tell me,
many other examples.
So tell me, what are you actually currently test for and track? Because someone's just asked a minute ago, can I get a full female and thyroid test panel? I mean, I know that obviously you can do hair mineral analysis, which is mercury, arsenic, toxic metals, and things like that. Like, it would be sky high for you because you have metal fillings in your liver phase 2. Obviously, microbiome test as well, which is actually my favourite gut test that there is out there. It's the most comprehensive one. You've also got obviously the organic acids test as well, which is again is probably my most recommended test, or should I say the one that I get most people to do. It tells you about gut status, tells you about candida, yeast levels, and various other pathogens, which I really like as well. So they're pretty much my 3 go-to. Also, I know that you do. Actually, I've got one sitting here. The hormone panel by Dutch, which goes into your system really well. And this is the gold standard in terms of hormone tests. I really, really love these things. I get one done a year pretty much. So what else can you test, track, and report on?
So as you said, like to start with, we have the genetic test, okay, and then we have, in terms of functional tests, just the one that you've stated. So the envirotoxin, which is the organic acid, hair element, the Dutch test, and the microbiome, which is really GI map. So it's a lot more than microbiome. It looks at all the pathogens, viruses, even zonulin, meaning if you have leaky guts or not. So all those different markers. We start with this, but we're quickly, I guess, going to add on some more tests and markers. But for now, we have all this. And to be fair, it's any practitioners, because we work with practitioners in our ecosystem, and to build all this, we have a lot of practitioners. We put together up to, you know, it's altogether over 1,000 biomarkers. So it's quite a lot already. But then when it comes to things very specific, when it becomes clinical, we do have practitioners that are ready to be booked within the platform. And then you can go on and do all the tests. But what the good thing will do is, when you go and see this practitioner, the practitioner or yourself will already have a list of all the things that goes wrong. So then it's very easy to determine what next test is best for you to do, if any, right? Or what is the best next protocol or things to, you know, to do. So we looked about thyroid, for example. You know, it's something that, yes, can be done via a practitioner. And that's probably be one of our next tests as well to upload onto the platform. So really from this starting point, the way we have designed this is we can add as much as possible. So it's just a question of time. And
so in theory, I could go to someone like Marek Doyle or Ryan Carter of Instagram and get them to order some specific tests for me, and then they could go into the system, be tracked, but you can't necessarily do those without the practitioner at the moment with certain tests. The reason why I ask is I talk about the Nutri-Eval, which is the intercellular test that Dr. Ted Akakoso and Dr. Scott Share recommend. And that's, again, probably the most ultimate test of all tests for me, because it looks at what's going on the cellular level. Now, I've done that a couple of times now because I'm a very big advocate of it, and I like to support Genova and spread the word about the test. But because it looks on a cellular level, you can really see what mercury is in the cells, what should be in the cells that isn't, such as nutrients. It looks at various different statuses and things like that as well. So it would be nice to be able to have that tracked in there, but I appreciate that is a practitioner test, an expensive one at that. I think for overall state,
it's just a question, you know, obviously it's all, you know, you start with something that is obviously not perfect, and then you optimize over time. I could have carried on developing, you know, and we have researcher and we have, you know, founders that are very happy to help, in the sense that they understand the value behind all this. So they're really keen. But at the same time, is what do you start with, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's great to know where it's going, because I think when we're discussing what topic we're going to discuss today, other than saying like why I wanted Omnos at the summit and why you wanted to come along to the summit and what you thought about it, it was really like the topic was around the dawn of the new healthcare, why the new smart health is so important, and bringing the biohacking and the functional worlds together and helping fuel it. So, I mean, that's really around the area I was thinking. So I think I understand that the platform is great. It's got my most fundamental tests in it, and it's going to grow to be able to bring in other tests as well in future. And I think a lot of people that bring the product to space at the moment, you know, I hear devices, I hear software and things like that, and they say, well, you know, we're about 20% of what we're going to be able to do. Most people don't know what's coming yet. I think for people to sign up for the platform, and as people know, I don't get commissioned, I don't do affiliate deals or anything. I just talk about the stuff that I really, really love and integrate from my life, which is why I think people really do listen to what I say. And I really do think that it's worth getting on the platform so you can track these things, because I'm known for 10 years not being able to track the data properly without adding in things into spreadsheets and putting charts in and looking like a crazy man. So I mean, yeah, so like let's just have a look at some of these things, these questions, just quickly before we move on, if that's okay, Thomas, because I don't want to ignore anyone if people are asking. Is this available to take in the UK? I live in New York.
Yes, it's actually available anywhere. Well, anywhere with caution, depending, you know, but we had people ordering from Singapore, we had people, you know, in Dubai. It's all going smoothly. More or less with the COVID-19 right now, it has been a bit slow with the post office, but I think now it's starting to get back into order. So that's good. I saw a question here, if I may, which is what test would you? Yeah. So what test would you recommend as a basic starter test, right? It's actually if you do the self-assessment, the algorithm will decide that for you, and it does that very well because it's been the combination of you know, several minds. And you can be surprised, you know, based on certain symptoms you may have, you don't even realize, but then the platform connect the dots and it's like, huh, actually, yes, I'm actually stressed out and I don't know. Let's have a look at your hormone profile because you already, you know, maybe have symptoms related to hormone imbalances. So you think you should do the organic acid test, but then you understand, well, actually, no, I should start with the hormone test because that's more my issue here. Obviously, you want to have a starting point, and genetic is always a good starting point, but because you can link, genetic won't change. You know, and something that is very important is not because you have the genotype, but you will necessarily have the phenotype. So genetic is not the whole picture, right? But it's very important to understand what are your strengths, your weaknesses, and it's always good to feed the platform with more of those data, and then you can even more have a granular recommendation. And when it comes to the test as well, the next best test is something we do.
Amazing.
So starting with the self-assessment. And you can do that today, going to omnos.me, very easy.
Yeah, I really like the platform as well, and the styling of it is actually quite fun. I mean, my background is obviously online conversion optimization and digital marketing, so it's quite fun playing around with that. So someone said, what is a test on a cellular level? So basically, just to give you a very layman term on it, is it looks at your body on a cellular level to see what is in the cell that shouldn't be, such as toxins, and what isn't in the cell that should be, such as nutrients, minerals, etc. And then basically you then know what you need to have in your cell. So for instance, if you're deficient in certain things, you can supplement with those. I also like to have a gut test at the same time, which again is based on the Health Optimization Medicine protocol by Dr. Ted Akikoso. Because if you're looking at the gut status, you might be really deficient or have really poor gut bacteria. So you might want to optimize your gut so that you can get those nutrients into the cell naturally. So that's what a cellular test is. So that's the Genova Nutri-Avar, which again, I really love that. So I'm just having a look through a couple of the questions that we've got here from between us to discuss, Thomas. Let's discuss the next one, which is the importance of connecting the dots with a more integrated approach to health. And decentralized within common language, because I feel like this is what we cover. And again, I'd like to hear it from your perspective.
So and it comes back to what I was saying, but it's more than a product, in the sense that the team we have built and the governance that comes with it. The idea is really to try our best to build almost a new architecture to health. That is accessible to everyone and effective for anyone. And that works by first, as you said, decentralizing things, right? Because right now, if you have to wait to be almost in an acute condition to be, going to the hospital and being treated. But before that, disease we're dying of right now, they take almost a decade to develop, and because of imbalances over time, and it's all multifactorial. So the idea is to give you this platform where you can see what's going on in a way that is understandable. So we make things in layman's terms. We sort of remove the whole, you know, disalienation almost, the alienation of the jargon of the medicine, which can be very complex. And it shouldn't be complex because, you know, it's your health. And when you try to understand what's going on, you often end up being told things you don't understand. And that shouldn't be how it works, because what you don't understand, you cannot control, you cannot change. So that's the first thing. And I think the effort here was first to really try to make, and that was always has been a bit of my journey, to make the inaccessible of science, of, you know, genetic at first, for example, accessible for people to understand. And then again is to decentralize things. And the good thing about it is now, thanks to the convergence of things like technology, the access to those tests now that are becoming a bit more available in terms of, you know, financially, it's not impossible to get a DNA test done. It's not impossible to get, you know, like any of those tests done. You know, a decade ago, maybe it was a lot more expensive. And a decade from now, it will be almost nothing. So this is where it's become very interesting, because it means we will have all access. So we're sort of decentralizing, moving things from you know, the institution into your hands, but now you have to be responsible about it, and you need to be taking this into account and to start implementing changes that count for yourself. And by doing this, you will actually change a lot of things already to, you know, to help also the NHS, because we're not against them, because they're amazing, but to help the NHS to reduce the burden of things that are totally preventable, right? So if you look at type 2 diabetes, it's 50 billion pounds per year. You know, it's crazy, and it's totally preventable by changing your lifestyle, your diet, your environment. It's actually even reversible. So, you know, it's amazing. And funny enough, I've shared the table this weekend with a Spanish dude who is in his late 70s, looks super young, but he had type 2 diabetes all his life, but he's walking 10 kilometers every day, and he doesn't have any of the symptoms. So, you know, I'm derailing here, but what I mean is, if you're proactive towards it, you will obviously make a great deal of change. And having a tool that helps you to do that in a very targeted manner, I think is very powerful. And that's why we've created Omnos. And I think it's part of this new health architecture that is now possible, thanks to, you know, the convergence of technology, access to all those information, but at the same time as well, the sort of cultural awakening of people that, yes, now we can take control of our health. And things like just happened, like the COVID-19, is like, well, yes, we do need to do something about it, because most of the people who didn't make it, unfortunately, people who had conditions, sadly, and because, you know, not to blame any of those people, obviously, but because there is no big institution behind them to educate them on how to take control of their health. And this is what is missing. Yeah.
Awesome. It's really cool. I mean, yeah, I haven't really got anything to add on top of that. I mean, I think it's a really exciting time. I think obviously we're right at the beginning of what the possibility of these things can do for the system, to help with the system. Yeah. I think with COVID going on at the moment, it's a big wake-up call to the world. I mean, we're in the best industry at the moment to be able to help as many people as we can. Luckily, with health optimization, it's kind of the brand of the moment, really, because everyone wants to optimize their health, or if they don't want to optimize their health, they just step several steps further away from everyone and want to continue to social distance forever. But I think this is really, really awesome. So let's just have a look at the next one. So the biohacking movement is moving from piracy to Navy and fueling
real culture awakening for people to towards better health solutions is one of the things that you put down. So I'd just really like to explore what you mean by that specifically, because I mean, I partially agree, but I'd like to hear what you think.
Yeah, well, I think it's, you know, it's like any little movement. You first being pointed out, and you start doing things that, you know, are truth and are real. But obviously, you will shake up a few people, and they're going to try to not make things easy for you. And I think, you know, this is what I mean by from piracy to navy, because right now there's actually a lot more people that are realizing, and when I'm talking about institution, organization, or people within, you know, who are high profile in the academics, who start to realize that, well, we need to have this paradigm shift where people take control of their health. And actually those guys here, those guys that gathers in the Health Optimization Summit, they've been doing this for a while, and they're actually doing it very well. They have all sort of tests, they have all those things available, and then you have all the, you know, the doctors that are joining, becoming functional doctors. It's just another title. But this is what I mean by going from the Navy. Is now there's a lot more research, there's a lot more people who have are coming from the mainstream sort of establishment, joining the forces. And then you have people that are part of organization, institution, that even want to help and to make this a bit more public, right? And I think this is where, again, is one of those converging things, why it is the right time for us to launch this as well, is because we do start to have the support in our advisory boards. You know, if you go on omnos.me, you can see the team. We have highest profile of academics from top university in the country. And the reason is because they agree that we have done something that has not been done yet, which is connecting the dots between all those things. And if we reach a certain level in terms of people using that, you start to see patterns. You start to see things that, you know, could really help them to actually be a lot more precise about educating certain population or areas or this sort of things. Add to this in the mix, you know, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and you've got a very, you know, powerful tool. And, you know, this is what I mean by from moving from piracy to navy is now we only start to have this sort of, you know, input from in terms of, you know, cash, for example, in terms of grant, in terms of, you know, recognition, and people that helps and open doors to where you couldn't go, you know, maybe 5 years ago, because you will be, you know, seen as a charlatan because you're not doing conventional medicine.
Very, very cool. I've just been told that there's a little bit of feedback going on, so I've been clicking mute during the when I'm not talking. So I'm sorry if I just seemed a little distracted. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's very, very good. So is there anything else, Thomas, that you'd like to add or like to share with the people who are watching right now? Because obviously we're going to download this, we're going to stick it onto our Instagram, and it was going to go on my Instagram as well so that more people see it. But yeah, is there anything you'd like to add in or explain to people? Because obviously this is now the time.
Well, I think, you know, what I'd like to say to people is come and join us. You know, the self-assessment is a free tool, and it's pretty amazing because you can already have a scoring system that will tell you the area you need to focus on. And it's the set of 6 times 20 questions. So it's quite accurate in terms already of, you know, finding out a few things. And then if you want to go on into the next test or this sort of thing, drop a message directly. Let's do something actually, team, if you're okay with that. Let's drop a message like HO10, Health Optimization 10, and you can get any 10% of any test to get you started. We are actually officially launching, well, officially sort of on Monday, but we've been ready for a while. We have a lot of people using the platform. But I think now we're ready to crack on. There's a new features going to be added on over time. And yeah, it's very exciting at the moment. So join in, you know, go on omnos.me, create an account, and, you know, have fun.
Yeah, I really recommend going on and checking out and having a play around doing the survey. I really do. I mean, I know a few people that have been on the platform as beta testers, so to speak. And the feedback's been good all round. I've obviously got a couple of tests still to do to send in, but I've been traveling until about a month ago, so I need to be off probiotics before I can take the test. And I'm also testing out a couple of other things that might affect my hormones, which is why I haven't done the test.
If that's the thing about biohacker, they want to wait until they are their peak to prove to themselves that whatever they do, it's working, right?
No, for me, I just need a solid baseline, opposed to taking something that might boost testosterone or protein synthesis, for instance. And
yeah, exactly.
Doing a Dutch test, it will give me a false positive, so to speak. So yeah, I'm just waiting for a few more weeks until that, but I'll be sharing the results on my Instagram. So anyone that's in on the Health Optimization Summit account right now, if you want to follow my journey, it's at Tim Biohacker. That's my main account, where I talk about my journey. And Thomas is obviously at Omnos. I don't know if you want to share your personal one as well. But yeah, so follow on the journey on there. So okay, mate. Well, it's been really good to catch up with you and to share a bit more insight into the platform from in your words, because I feel like I communicate quite a lot to a lot of people about how awesome this is going to be. But now it's out in the ether. It's out. It's going to be uploaded and shared around accordingly. So I'm really looking forward to the summit. It's going to be really good.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Tim, for the time, and thank you everybody for listening. And see you all at the Optimization Summit.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, we'll continue on Zoom now. We'll end on the Instagram live, and I'll start recording. So I'll catch you on there in a second. Thanks, guys. Have an amazing day.
All right.